list is an absolute good.
There is no knowledge without lists. A list is a bold statement, a cri de coeur to the universe to intone that it may be as infinite as it pleases. We will know it and hold it and watch it.
The list is life.
I'm talking about movie lists actually. To talk about movies is to talk about movie lists. They're on Letterboxd, Cinefix, WatchMojo, end of the year reviews, award shows. Even the Vatican made their own list, actually 3 lists, of the best films ever made. Terrific, by the way. It's got the Lavender Hill Mob, who'd have thought?
Gay, sprightly land of mirth and social ease.
I've had the misfortune to encounter many of that unhappy breed that believes movies shouldn't compete against each other. This stance is not only sad, it's counterproductive. What, is a young cinephile wannabe to just watch any random film after the other without any discernment? When you are looking for what film to watch, you are looking for a list. Diving into this wonderful world of cinema is unfeasible without the guiding hand of a kind catalog. Lists are unavoidable, not only in film, everywhere.
Shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger.
Everything's a list. A law book is a list. So is the dictionary, the phone book, a recipe, a restaurant menu, the TV guide, a book index, the calendar, your schedule, instructions, your resume, movie credits, your Instagram feed, the airport departure board, blueprints, a course syllabus, crosswords, frequently asked questions, a code of conduct, the bus route, a museum, your workout routine, the periodic table, your favorite playlist, the zodiac, a horoscope, your family tree, nutrients, itineraries, the alphabet, and numbers. Then there's, of course, Skillshare, which happens to be this video's sponsor. What could be more appropriate than a list of classes? Skillshare is an online learning community that can teach you, well, whatever you feel like. Seriously, Skillshare has got so many classes, it's got lists of classes. You can learn just about anything here and everything taught by experts. Film editing, color grading, screenwriting, photography, animation, music, languages? Yeah, they got that too. They also have the Learning Paths option, which is a list of lists. Groups of hand-picked classes that guide you through every step in the skill you want to learn. I edit my videos on DaVinci Resolve, and of course Skillshare has a learning path for it. I found this class on the Fusion function, and it's teaching me a whole bunch of things I didn't even know I could do here. And I've been editing here for what, 3 years? The first 500 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. That's 30 days for free. It's a great deal.
I make that deal. How about you, Udovich? You make that deal?
I make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring the video. Now back to lists. To live is to list. Why should cinema be otherwise? Whether it's a list of the most important films or the best ever made, it makes no difference. A movie list is a conversation starter, not a final word. When you make a list, you exclude many, but when you don't, you exclude all. To refuse to list is to be cowardly and willfully ignorant. A pusillanimous ignoramus. I love English. The best argument against a list is not an attack on the very concept of lists, but another list. That's the beauty of lists. And here goes the list of the 10 best lists of the 100 best movies ever made. Or as I call it, the list list.
J'ai été russe, anglais, allemand, espagnol, brésilien, chinois, turc, arménien.
These are predominantly ranked top 100s. 2 listed lists are not ranked, but in chronological order. One list has only 60 films instead of 100, and another has 118. 3 lists are limited by country or continent, 1 by language, for the rest, anybody's game. To select the lists, they had to meet some criteria. The first one is personality. I don't want selections that feel copy-pasted, that don't feel individual. If the list hasn't got at least a few entries that make you go, "The hell's that doing over there?" then it's not worthy of the list. Next criterion, quality. No, not obviously. It means the films must be selected based on artistic merit and importance alone. No socio-political relevance, no charity picks. Narrative and audio-visual craft only. An exception here and there being acceptable. And finally, respectability. The list must value film history and the canon. Read, no pop surplus and no recency bias. You're right out IMDb top 250. You were a great gateway list when I was 13 though. Thank you for the good times. The list must reinforce the movie canon while also, as contradictory as it sounds, having its own take on it. It must be in that sweet spot between the fan and the scholar where the joy of cinephilia lies. I want selections that feel like a chat, a conversation with someone who's knowledgeable and well-humored, someone who's seen and studied everything. No normie lists. Sorry AFI, you're shy that drop of crazy I crave. So if you're not one of those list-hating grouches, if there's a smile on your face, a song in your heart and a strut in your walk, then come and list with me. And who knows, maybe it will kick off a list craze. Maybe more people will make lists of the best movie lists. Then I'll make a list of the top 10 best, top 100 best movies of all time. Kicking off a trend of lists, leading to the top 10 best, top 100 best movies of all time. Kicking off the lists, then the top 10 best, top 100 best movies of all time. Kicking off the list. I want to start with a starter list. A list of the 100 most essential films ever made. A list that's basic, but not a normie. A mandatory list. If you consider yourself a cinephile, this is a list you must check off. No discussions. Or at least say 90 out of 100. It's the Toronto International Film Festival list, the 100 Essentials. The name says it all. It's got all the big names, a few popular films that left a cultural mark, like Star Wars and The Wizard of Oz. This one is the only list with Jaws. It's not limited to one per director, but no one's got more than 2 films. It's the only listed list with films from before the 1910s. History matters. Sherlock Jr., but no the General. Unusual choice. Like Buñuel's only film being Viridiana. The one film by Hao Xiaoshen being Dust in the Wind is the kind of random, unjustifiable, borderline idiosyncratic choice that makes this list worth talking about. Who on earth would have deemed this movie more essential than A City of Sadness? And Flowers of Shanghai is still his best. Douglas Sirk gets Written on the Wind? Videodrome is essential? Really? Slumdog Millionaire. Essential. Now it's showing its age. That film felt like an instant classic at the time, but nobody talks about it today. One of our many failed predictions. Those films that seemed essential for a while, then faded away. That's one of the charms of catalogs. They may seek immortality, but if they're gonna have any spunk at all, they ultimately show dents in their armor. A handful of documentaries, not my cup of tea, but what can you do? No Showa, but with Marcel Loffel's The Sorrow and the Pity instead.
So let's go see The Sorrow and the Pity.
Oh, come on, we've seen it. I'm not in the mood to see a 4-hour documentary on Nazis.
I'm gonna deduct points because it's got as many films by Marcel as by his dad, the directing deity Max Sophus. Imagine being an Apple baby and making documentaries. Guess silver plates aren't only for caviar. I'd have bundled up Night and Fog and Sorrow and Pity and exchanged them for Showa, making room to add Mahiamba. That's really essential. Wavelength. It's a zoom. That's it. You can find a better way to spend 45 minutes. Guess the avant-garde needed an entry, and Scorpio Rising, which isn't bad, wasn't enough. You're not gonna see me defending museum pieces. But I'll strongly defend the list's right to list films I wouldn't list. If I want a list I agree 100% with, a list I won't disagree with in any way, well then I'll just make one myself. List the essential avant-garde garbage you want. I may hate it, but I love you just the same.
And when I met her, she was, of all things, dragging him in to see The Sorrow and the Pity, which I counted as a personal triumph.
In the last list I watched every film, as should you, but 9th place is for a list I haven't seen that many from, because it's exciting. No matter how many films you've watched in your life, there's always more to watch. So this is the list that will make me the busiest in the future. I first consider the Busan Film Festival list of the 100 greatest Asian films. I've only seen some 50 of those. Many great ones, but some of the others I've seen... no. West of the Tracks? Just... no. And that list has even got a Lav Diaz film. And not one of the short 4-hour ones. It's one of the long ones! Sweet Jesus, save me! So I went to the Japanese magazine Kinejun's 1999 list of the greatest 118 Japanese films ever made. I've only seen about 30, plenty to look out for. Kurosawa towers above everyone else with 12 films, followed not by Mizoguchi, 4, or Ozu, 3, but Oshima with a varied group of 7. Some films that are very high up are virtually unknown. The one in 13th place hasn't even got a Wikipedia page. The films I did see are consistently good. Sun in the Last Days of the Shogunate, Harakiri, Vengeance is Mine, Japan's Longest Day, I hope I can follow it someday, The Ball at the Angel House, 13 Assassins, Woman in the Dunes. Hey, there's Totoro! It's an extremely motivating list. Many of these films sound intriguing. The Man Who Stole the Sun, great title and premise. I must watch it soon. I'm out of my depth, but how can you resist this list? It's even got a couple pink films. It's even got a couple pink films. Good luck checking off these fellas, they're so obscure. What is this? What is this? Listen to the what? This film here, the director made 16 movies with that title. So which one is it? Beats me. And what is this one? Oh right, never mind. And since Kurosawa had such a strong showing, he gets to pick the next one. This is Akira Kurosawa's posthumous list of his 100 favorite films. You know you're dealing with a true cinephile and listophile when a list of favorites is limited to one film per director and presented in chronological order. Even his personal preferences are compartmentalized. I can dig it. The Fall of the House of Usher, there's one of the best silent films ever made. It should be way more common in the Listoverse. Ah, a man of culture. Congress Dances. A masterpiece of early sound cinema that's so underrated its only information on Wikipedia is that Kurosawa had it here. The Thin Man is one of the greatest comedy films ever made, and the fact this is the only list it's in is criminal.
Is that my drink over there?
What are you drinking?
Rye.
Yes, that's yours.
The best part is how the always cited directors are paired with never cited movies. His Griffith is Broken Blossoms, his Carnet is The Adulteress, Hitchcock, The Birds, Visconti gets Conversation Piece, a clearly favorite subject of Kurosawa. Taking many of these selections, it's evident someone had a thing for characters in confined spaces talking for hours. Hey, me too! Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I love this guy!
Hi, sexy. You want to dance, Angel Boobs?
What'd you call my wife?
His favorite Hollywood musical is Daddy Long Legs. As I said, personality. Yes, some love for William Wyler. Game recognizes game. Look at his 70s, is that beautiful or what? The Day of the Jackal, The Best Godfather, Barry Lyndon. This is the only time I've ever seen The Trip to Bountiful outside the Best Actress Oscar winners list. The Beautiful Troublemaker. You'd imagine that film to be mentioned more often due to all its attractive qualities. This list is a fun and lovely conversation. Also Totoro! We've been to Japan, so now it's time to go to the father of cinema, France. This is Time Out magazine's list of the 100 greatest French films of all time. I've seen multiple versions of this list, so I ended up choosing the one with the least recent releases. And it's still the only list in this video with films from the 2010s. And honestly, I don't remember where I found this version.
Il y a trois sortes de Français. Il y a les vrais Français, les Français de merde et la merde de Français.
It's amazing how one can watch nothing but French films and still get a full, balanced meal. There's plenty of heavyweight classics, there's family animation, fun genre films, popular comedy, some documentaries, pseudo-intellectual waste of time. The French have it all.
La vie est belle. Et vous êtes comme elle, si belle. Vous êtes si belle, vous aussi.
There's even a silent serial. No other list has Foyad. With 30 films from the 60s, it's clearly biased towards the new wave. but it has one Guitry. Any list with Guitry is fine in my book.
Je n'ai que 35 ans, mais j'en parais au moins 40. Tant pis. Il faudra que cette dame s'en contente.
It has 6 Godards, but he might as well be 2 different filmmakers. You have 3 good ones from his good narrative phase, and 3 from the much longer no job period.
L'esprit n'est vrai que lorsqu'il manifeste sa présence. Et dans le mot manifester, il y a main.
Oh boy, you guys seriously buy this bridge?
Je voulais être ingénieur. Je ne sais même pas si j'ai réussi à être ingénieux.
Dude built a whole career out of bad puns and empty axioms.
Et la beauté est une ensorceleuse ensorcelée.
You guys, this is a joke.
Dans le je pense donc je suis. Le jeu du je suis n'est plus le même que le jeu du je pense.
The cone of the century.
L'art est comme l'incendie. Il naît de ce qu'il brûle.
Let's get to films instead of shitposting. Good editing though. This list is the only place I've ever seen the great family resemblances mentioned. One of the best films about characters in confined spaces talking for hours. I wonder if Kurosawa watched it. I'm glad to see that the great French comedies were given their due, especially the classiest of them all.
Ah, monde de merde.
La classe américaine. For those who haven't had the pleasure, this beloved TV movie is made out of fragments from dozens of Warner films dubbed over into a comedy goldmine.
Bonsoir, Georges. J'aimerais beaucoup vous parler. Si tu veux me parler, envoie-moi un fax.
If there is one reason to learn the French language besides the tragedies of Racine, it's to watch this marvel.
Yep. Pas mal, non? C'est français.
Let's expand from France to the good old continent, Europa. In '94, the Portuguese Cinematheque voted for the 100 greatest European films, and the results are wonderful. Nosferatu in first place? That's a first. The most represented director? It's a tie between Le Patron Jean Renoir and Fritz Lang with 6 films, including the never talked about duology The Tiger of Eshnapur and The Indian Tomb. He also has the Nibelungs, making it a duology of duologies. Wait, if you count Dr. Mabuse, a trilogy of duologies. Buñuel got plenty of love with 5, as many as Dreyer. To keep it European, Hitchcock is limited to his early and inferior British phase. We even got one out of Orson Welles' European outings.
We have heard the chimes at midnight, master of a cello.
And they managed to find the only good film by Strobouillet. Fassbinder got in through Lola. Sure, why not? You'll find some hidden gems, like the incomplete Polish excellence of Passenger, Alain René's underrated Muriel, and Stiller's Sir Arne's Treasure. It's always good to see the 1910s be remembered. Don't forget this is a Portuguese list, so of course we got a plethora of 3 films by Oliveira, who else? Sorry, Montero.
Fui expulso do paraíso.
Doomed Love and Francisca are on the challenging side.
Matem-no! Matem-no!
I wouldn't advise neophytes to start off here.
Malvado! Eu já disse isto aqui não é lugar para cavalos!
But over there is his best and the best Portuguese film ever made, Abraham's Valley, released only 1 year before the list. In conclusion, a great job from the go stand there in the corner and think about what you've done country of Europe. Before we get to the latter half, a brief pause for a short list that just happens to be my favorite. Like, subscribe, share, comment, join me on Patreon, keep watching. Beautiful. Now let's expand from Europe to the whole world. That doesn't speak English. I was split between the BBC's 2018 list of the 100 best non-English speaking movies of all time and Empire magazine's list on the same subject. The BBC one is solid, but it was missing that element of fun. The Empire one is way too recency biased. 24 movies, 1/4 of it is from the 2000s. That easily breaks my criterion of respectability. But you know what? If there's one person who's allowed to break the rules that I myself made up, it's me. So the Empire list makes it in. I hate that Amelie's in second place. And all these fan favorites like Goodbye Lenin and Let the Right One In were almost deal breakers. This list should be in last place. This list should easily be in last place. But if there's one thing I learned with Cinefix is that a list's order is not as important as a list's narrative. This list is just too damn fun. Most of the heavyweights are present and we also get Lagan, and your mother too. And come on, we need a list with Das Boot. Closely Watched Trains is too good a film not to be mentioned. Can you believe this is the only list with Rififi and with Ren? It's too audience friendly to include Angelopoulos or Tar, but these choices are terrific. Where else would you find The Vanishing? Cyrano de Bergerac and Jean de Florette and Manon of the Spring, these are among my favorite movies.
Mais d'esprit, ô le plus lamentable des êtres, vous n'en eûtes jamais un atome. Et de l'être, vous n'avez que les trois qui forment le mot sot.
We've even got two of the greatest miniseries ever made, Decalogue and Heimat. I completely forgive the pop tendencies. This list is gold. There's no dryer. This list is silver. Oh, Dogma. 10. Now we've indulged ourselves with a beginner's guide to non-English language cinema, it's time to get back to business. Sight and Sound. The most famous movie list of all time has had 8 iterations since '52. I couldn't make the list without one of the lists of the list of all lists. I was torn between 92 and 02, and after a close comparison, the earlier one edged out by just a bit. The ones before the 90s weren't considered because they didn't go as far as 100. Brief aside, in the two oldest lists you'll see there's this film called The Childhood of Maxim Gorky, which once was considered a classic masterpiece, but today it's forgotten. Makes you wonder which films are here today and will be gone tomorrow.
What are you doing, Elma?
It's available on YouTube, by the way. I hated it. Anyway, here's the 92 list. At first, it might appear pretty standard, but it has just enough key differences to make me value it higher than most. This is the only list here with more than one film by the Titan John Ford, and the only one with Rear Window. Like the European list, and the one that's gonna be in first place, it's got 3 films by Ophuls. And this one has the practically forgotten Everybody's Woman, which is as amazingly directed as you should expect from him. 6 by Godard, but these are all films from his good phase. Weekend, that's my favorite of his, after the never-mentioned Alphaville. 2 or 3 Things is the only one here that's one of his insufferable meanders. I chose this list because it shows true respect for cinema. It honors the great masters, it appreciates modernist playfulness, and basically it truly seems to be in search of greatness, as it should ever be. In 2003, the modern atlas of the Facebook skies, Paul Schrader decided to write a book about the film Canon, the movie-centered version of Harold Bloom's The Western Canon. He never completed the task, but he did write a terrific article on the subject. He talks about the history of aesthetics and canons and how modernity has tried to destroy them. He selects 7 criteria to select the film canon and presents a rated list of 3 groups of 20 films, classifying the scores as gold, silver and bronze. It's only 60 films long, but it's more than worthy of the list. Especially because Schrader admittedly attempted to separate personal favorites from the movies that artistically defined film history. But his personality still shines through, perhaps partially failing in his task, but more importantly, elevating his canon from a respectable but potentially dull list into one that's actually fun to discuss. I'm glad he didn't pick late Godard, but masculine feminine in the top 10. This pretentious drivel is not even good early Godard.
On tue un homme, on est un assassin, on tue des millions d'hommes, on est un conquérant, on les tue tous, on est un dieu.
You just know this guy's favorite book is Catcher in the Rye. Do we still use that meme, gonna need less edge on that? If we're not gonna go with the predictable Breathless, why not Pierrot Fou? And may I still make a case for Alphaville? The best part about Schrader's canon is wondering why he picked that film from that director instead of that one. Why Tarkovsky's film Nostalgia instead of the across-the-board favorite Andrei Rublev, in 6 other lists? At first I thought it was to get a script by legendary screenwriter Tonino Guerra, but he's already canonized with La Notte. By the way, my favorite Antonioni, I approve it replacing L'Avventura. So why nostalgia? Who knows? It has now been named once in the list, as many times as Mirror and Stalker, and once less than Solaris. Kurosawa's film being high and low is a happy surprise. Seven Samurai and Rashomon left such a huge undeniable mark in the history of cinema that what could even be his reasoning? The brilliantly creative use of scope blocking? Maybe, I hope, I wish he had written that book.
You like Rashomon?
That's not how I remember it.
Crimes and Misdemeanors being Woody Allen's film is an inspired pick. And look at this one! Just like everyone else, I love The Big Lebowski, but I have no idea why it's the 40th most important film of all time. Is it our film noir representative? No, we already have Out of the Past. An odd but good choice to take the place of The Maltese Falcon and The Big Sleep. Houston already has The Dead and Howard Hawks is AWOL. The Canon's in need of comedies in any case, so I guess the dude does abide. Finally some love for Minnelli, and surprisingly he's the only one to consider Sunset Boulevard Billy Wilder's masterpiece. In 4 other lists, that genius is only ever present with Some Like It Hot. I love this list for being the only one with Preston Sturges. But Sakurov's Mother and Son? Why? Russian Ark we could talk, but who talks about Mother and Son? The 21st canonical film of all time? In what? I must paraphrase Henry II. How in the name of bleeding Jesus is it canonical? Is it ever talked about? Ever referenced in passage? Ever listed? Ever remembered? Is it ever anywhere in a list but somewhere else?
You're no part of me. We do not touch at any point.
The same applies to Francesco Rossi Salvatore Giuliano. Salvatore Giuliano! Really, Paul? The only other place I've ever seen this film mentioned was in Martin Scorsese's Sight and Sound top whatever number he feels like. Do you really think this is a touchstone in movie history? Are you sure it isn't talked about exclusively inside your clique? You'd expect, say, the Battle of Algiers. And here's something funny, there's no Battle of Algiers and no Casablanca, but I think he thought those films were in the list. The article has stills from many listed films. The only one not listed is the Battle of Algiers. He also talks a bit about some of the listed movies and Casablanca gets mentioned, the only one unlisted. Does he think he added those too? Instead of Casablanca, he seems to have placed A Place in the Sun. I love that movie, Paul Schrader and I it seems, but over Casablanca? Speaking of odd choices, Bud Baedeker, Paul. Really, and not even the Tall T? Those Randolph Scott Burt Kennedy westerns are fun and all, but not in any way accomplished and influential enough for the canon. This bizarre choice makes you even ignore the pleasant presence of Anthony Mann. Gone crazy! This film is great! What a surprisingly crazy affair this endeavor was. I love it. By the way, he placed himself in the canon, why wouldn't he? There's this eyewitness companion book by Ronald Bergen called Film. This was the first movie book I ever had. It's surface level stuff but great for beginners. It's also got a chronological list of top 100 films. It's a list of films that stood the test of time with some recent instant classics. These are films that had a seminal effect on film history for both technical and aesthetic reasons. Sounds good to me. Also, this is the only list besides Stiff's Essentials to include audience favorites besides the Juggernauts. It's the only list where you'll find Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Sound of Music, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Toy Story, and The Lord of the Rings. And here's why I love this list so much. It has the Marx Brothers.
3 men and 1 woman are trapped in a building. Send help at once. If you can't send help, send 2 more women. Make it 3 more women.
But mostly because it loves early 40s Hollywood. The Philadelphia Story, finally a Q-Corp. William Wyler's The Little Foxes, yes! The only crime is that nobody imitates these pics.
How are the mighty fallen?
We're limited to 1 per director, but there's Noel Cowards In Which We Serve, which was co-directed by David Lean.
Yes, sir, that's my baby.
And to represent the Ealing comedies, remember them? No other list does. Ronald chose the little known... It's a good one, but why not Kind Hearts and Coronets? that masterpiece is horrifically unmentioned. Having a film from the British New Wave is questionable considering how little effect that movement played in film history, especially since he didn't give Mizoguchi an entry, nor Buster Keaton.
Another president gone. This has been a very interesting evening.
Probably to screw up with my completionist tendencies, he didn't only include Heimat, but also Heimat 2 and 3 in a nice and inviting 52-hour behemoth. I've only seen the first series, which is a masterpiece. I'll catch up someday, but usually when I have 36 hours available, I watch 18 movies instead. Or live. So the only films missing for me are Heimat 2 and 3, and Andy Warhol's Chelsea Girls.
I got scared.
Did you, do you remember your exact words?
Before you go to hell.
Well, what kind of people are there?
No, I have no intention of watching Chelsea Girls anytime soon.
No, it is not.
Maybe as some type of bet. Say, if this video gets 1 million views, I'll watch Chelsea Girls. Finally, we've had lists from the film magazines Empire, Kinogen and Sight and Sound. But what's the most famous film magazine of them all? At least the most important and influential magazine that played the biggest part in actual movie history? That's right, Cahiers du Cinéma. The famous French magazine got 78 critics and historians to choose the 100 films that would make up the ideal cinematheque. And surprisingly, considering how Cahiers reviews have historically been a load of boring, pretentious, laughably empty word salads, they somehow ended up making a list worthy of the top spot in the list. And here you go, the best list of the best movies of all time. It doesn't look that different from the more typical lists until you notice the pretty little changes. This is the only list with Joseph L. Mankiewicz, and their choice is The Barefoot Contessa. I can't complain.
The script has to make sense, and life doesn't.
Ever heard of Fritz Lang's Moonfleet? It's a terrifically entertaining Hollywood swashbuckler. In its time, it was praised for its exemplary use of the scope aspect ratio. Two other films that got the same type of acclaim are also in the list: George Cukor's A Star is Born and Vincent Minnelli's Some Came Running. And with the delightful The Bandwagon, the list has not only one but two Minnellis, compensating criminal oversights.
How I wish I had a gun, a widow gun. It would be fun to shoot the other two and be only one.
Remember when I said that any list with Guitry was fine in my book? I wish The Pearls of the Crown was given more credit, but the story of a cheat is right here.
J'ai été marquis, colonel, docteur, avocat, industriel, architecte, ancien ministre, bookmaker.
This one isn't only the only list with Laura, this is the only list with any Otto Preminger movie. How?
What are you trying to do? Force a confession out of me?
America. And out of all Buñuel films, they chose L. You might notice this is the only list with Mulholland Drive. Blue Velvet takes its spot in 3 other lists. And like the Sight and Sound list, it has 5 Chaplins, which I find excessive. Be it as it may, I love this list so much because it feels like someone tried to make a standard, perfectly vanilla list of the greatest films of all time but accidentally ended up sprinkling quirkiness all over the canon. And Kiss Me Deadly is just the best.
That's a collector's item.
A collector's item, yeah.
Paul Schrader said it's much easier to make lists than to explain why. After going over the top 10, top 100s, I can't help but make some comments.
You don't think much of me. Much, I don't think of you at all.
Some lists were excluding. American films weren't even invited to 4 lists, so a final tally wouldn't really work. Let's try anyway. The grand winners are, evidently, French. Cited 8 times are Godard's Breathless and Jean Renoir's The Rules of the Game, which Schrader called the center of the film canon. Children of Paradise would have made it to 8 lists too if that goddamn noob list I fawned over hadn't excluded it! For what? Run Lola run! What the hell was I thinking? Oh, Suspiria! How could I ever be mad at you, you gorgeous little monster? It's reassuring to find the Giants mentioned over and over again. A canonical status requires repetition. The gods never hurled lightning to carve on the rock of Gibraltar the names of Citizen Kane and company. We cannot stop naming the greats and expect history to remember them. Craft must be celebrated over and over and over again. When a film isn't praised, people don't watch it. When people don't watch it, they don't praise it. Every masterpiece is one generation away from going the way of the childhood of Maxim Gorky.
I'll have to close this place in 60 years.
Kurosawa is the most represented director with 13 films. And if we only use the Japanese list, he would still be the most represented director with 12. Godard got close with 11, but he is the most mentioned director with 24 entries. Kurosawa and Renoir being in second place with 23. The Rules of the Game, Seven Samurai and Citizen Kane are the only films that topped 2 lists. A few filmmakers managed to surprise me by how well they performed. Maurice Pialat, helped by the French list citing 3 of his films, he turned out to be more important a filmmaker than I'd ever have given him credit to be. Pedro Almodovar doubtlessly cemented his canonical status today. He's named 6 times between these 10 lists. Twice for Talk to Her, twice for All About My Mother, and twice for Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown.
Las cosas más raras pasan así, de pronto.
In comparison, the Coen brothers were only mentioned twice.
Fuck it, dude. Let's go bold.
I honestly expected Casablanca to be in more lists than 2.
I don't know what's right any longer.
It's interesting that John Huston was mentioned 5 times. Twice for his very first movie, The Maltese Falcon.
You're good, you're very good.
And 3 times for his very last movie, The Dead. I was surprised by such a strong result from this great, but unassuming film. It was named as many times as Vaida's masterpiece, Ashes and Diamonds. And as many times as My Neighbor Totoro. It's official, that one's canonical. Thank you for watching.